Space whales? Nope, rather deal with devils. Chapter 37, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. After a long info dump about the reality of the lost belts to Mash, she for a long while shut down. Until I said something to her that made her perk up. Mash, although this current world isn't one with infinite power scaling, you can easily get a strong foundation with this world's power system. To say nothing of any artifacts or power systems you may pick up while helping me. I said, patting her light purple hair as she rested her head on my side. It's just. We dealt with so much, Ritsuka was so tired, and now there's a whole other list of singularities that are even more powerful, and we lost so much as well. Mash muttered before she looked up at me. I could see the weight of tiredness behind her eyes, but there was still a core of steel beneath that layer of tiredness. Can I really become strong enough to deal with those lost belts? And make sure that Senpai can return home? She asked desperately. Taking a breath, I listed some things. Genies, various forms of immortality, cultivation, cosmic energy, control over laws, artifacts like Jackie Chan's talismans. I listed off quickly, and as her desperate face turned to confusion, I continued. Mash, there are countless ways in the Omniverse to gain strength or to kill an asshole. Hell, we could go pop into a world and get a book that allows you to kill anyone just by writing their true name inside the book. I said with a cold smile. Fuck all those cryptors. Just imagine them in a meeting and myself sitting in a Chaldea ship aggressively eating potato chips and writing down their names to kill them with heart attacks. Now that would trivialize them. Mash raised an eyebrow and countered. But you said they are being protected by some kind of foreign god. To say nothing of how the A-Team are powerful mages who are capable of dealing with curses. I, in turn, retorted. Mash. When your body has no magical energy build up, and then your heart abruptly explodes, how many of the A-Team would survive that? I questioned, as I knew only the blood elemental in Yui Yayoi could survive that. She had no answer, so I took a breath and continued. Anyway, although killing the A-Team would make a lot of things easier, you still need the raw power needed to cut down those trees holding up the lost belt textures on the world. I coughed and patted her head again, making her purple eyes look up at me in confusion as I got up and said. You have plenty of time to figure things out, Mash. I am your master now, as your soul latched onto mine in a master-servant relationship, so let's get along. I will go find you some clothes, though. I finished wryly as a small flush entered Mash's cheeks as some of her ample cleavage peeked out from under her blanket covering. I left Mash alone to her thoughts for a minute until I paused as I exited the room and thought about Mash, and I realized she had a similar body shape as Mommy Tomo, so I went next door. Mommy? I asked as I popped open the door, and she called out sweetly. Jake, please come in. I looked in and saw her wearing a thin nightdress and was lying on her bed with her upper chest and head propped up with a stack of pillows as she was reading one of the human mage magic books I briefly got into before giving up at how overly inefficient they were compared to devil magic. Mommy, I summoned a familiar, and she is. Well, naked, she has a similar body shape as you. So could you please give her a nightdress and a spare outfit so we can do her clothes shopping in the morning? I asked respectfully, and Mommy's golden eyes widened before she smiled gently. Of course, Jake, that's no problem. How is she? Why did she come to this world naked? Mommy asked quickly as she carefully marked her book and began going through her dresser to acquire a couple of articles of clothing that she brought from her own world. But to her questions, I couldn't help a weak shake to the head as I answered with a sigh. It's complicated, Mommy. She has had some hard times, and the reason she was naked is that I summoned her just after she got killed, basically. Mommy froze as she grabbed a pair of underwear out of a plastic package, and she spoke softly. So she is rather similar to me, then. I silently nodded, and that was it for a moment, and as Mommy collected Mash some clothes, Mommy came up and kissed my neck and whispered sweetly. You are a good man, now go tell Sona while I talk to this Mash Kirilite and get her measure. So with the mega sweetheart that was Mommy going to talk to Mash, I had no doubt that Mommy would worm her way into Mash's heart. Now I just needed to go tell Sona that I summoned my own familiar, who was basically already human. Wow, I summoned a human to be my familiar. Thankfully, it wasn't a dude, so I wouldn't be ripping on zero no Tsukaima anymore. I thought with a small smile as I walked over to Sona's master bedroom at the end of the dorm hallway. I knocked on the door and muffled, "Come in," rang out through the door. Sona's room was elegant in a more modern European style of stained hardwood roof and marble floors, while the furniture followed the same theme. And Sona herself was sitting at a table reading some paperwork. "Jake, you need something?" Sona asked, and I could see a small flush in her cheeks, and I realized she was still embarrassed about the slime episode a couple of hours ago, so I came up behind her and began massaging her shoulders, making her hum in comfort. "Yeah. I decided to do a familiar summoning spell and got my own familiar. She is a sort of homunculus named Mash, and right now I have her staying in my room." I spoke, and after showing proof of the familiar contract, Sona hummed and nodded. "That's fine, though I wish her, like yourself and Mommy, to keep busy, either doing your bounty work, going to school here in Kuo, or something else. I will not accept a layabout," she said firmly, and I tilted her head up by her chin and soundly kissed her lips, making her squirm as I used the seal of Solomon to send some desire into her. As our lips broke up, her eyes looked up at me, lidded with smoky intent. Without another word, I picked up my contracted devil. And I did my dues as her humble contracted magician, making sure that she knew I wasn't replacing her with Mommy and this new Mash.